story about a grouchy monster that lived in a forest behind a big old tree. And any time that someone came walking through the forest and they passed by that old tree, the monster would jump out from behind the tree and growl. So everybody that lived in the village nearby the forest was afraid to go in, except for two people, a little girl named Fishy and her dad. So one day, Fishy and her dad decided to have a picnic in the forest. So they got their picnic basket and they walked to the baker shop. And they were buying some bread for their picnic, and the baker said, "Oh, where are you going to have your picnic today?" And they said, "In the forest." And the baker said, "Don't go in the forest. There's a grouchy monster there." But they were not afraid. So they got their bread and they went along their way. And pretty soon they came to the grocery store. And they were buying some groceries for their picnic. And the grocer said, "Where are you going to have your picnic today?" And they said, "In the forest." And the grocer said, "Don't go in the forest. There's a grouchy monster there." But they were not afraid. So they walked along their way until they reached the forest. And they brushed the branches out of the way and walked in. And pretty soon they came by the big old tree. And out jumped the grouchy monster, and he growled. But they were not afraid. So the grouchy monster stomped his feet. But they were still not afraid. And then the grouchy monster gnashed his teeth. But they weren't afraid. And the little girl said, "Grouchy monster, don't you have any friends?" And the monster said,
"No, and all I have to eat are yucky bugs."
So they invited him to go on the picnic, and he accepted.
Okay.
So the grouchy monster led them down a secret path in the forest that only he knew about,
Come on.
to a magical waterfall. And they laid their blanket out on the green grass, and there were fairies flying all around, and they ate their delicious picnic
Yummy!
by the magic waterfall. And pretty soon, after the monster had enjoyed a nice picnic and some nice conversation with Fishy and her
I
dad,
really think that's fun.
he wasn't feeling so grouchy. So they invited him to come back to the village, and he accepted.
Okay.
So they walked back through the forest. And when they got to the village, everybody who lived there was amazed to see the grouchy monster, laughing and smiling and talking with Fishy and her dad. And he didn't seem so grouchy. And from that day on, the grouchy monster had a lot of friends.
Nice to meet you.
And no one was afraid to go in the forest anymore.
Will you be my friend? no.